Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people for this Wednesday, December 1st. Happy December, everybody. Get into your advent calendars. On this advent calendar day of the 1st here, the return to action is imminent for the New York Islanders. They come back and play tomorrow, and they're saying all the right things. They're excited to all be back together. They have a terrible record. A lot of that terrible record was played while they were short at least 7 people, sometimes 10. So, yeah, I mean, we have arguments about how certain teams have regulars out, and, well, this team's shorthanded here or there. The Islanders were missing everything. It was kind of sort of everything. And then Varlamov came back, and he hasn't been great either. So, hopefully, now that they're cleared to play, hopefully when they get back into action tomorrow, everything is all right. The Boston Bruins. So the relationship between Jake DeBrusk and the team is clearly, it's done. And rumor has it up to 12 teams have called Boston regarding what it's going to take to trade him. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If you're Don Sweeney, do you look at the current season that Jake DeBrusk's having, which is a down year after another down year, and say, all right, this is a guy who's not getting it at the NHL level. It's not working. And so you trade him based on that? Or do you say, you know what, he's still young, he's still got that potential, he could get back into a 25-goal kind of form? I think we'd like a little bit extra. So it's dependent on really what the team's looking for. And then if he gets 3 similar offers from teams and he says, I could live with any of these offers, does he go to Jake and say, you know what, we've got offers from these teams, do you have a preference of where you'd want to go? And I say that because I think it's important to have a good relationship with a player as they're going out the door. I think that's something that sometimes gets overlooked in sports. You know, a good relationship with a player as he leaves means that maybe he'll consider coming back at some point because you never know what's going to happen later on. Or with his new teammates, he might be like, you know, it was a bad time in Boston, but yeah, on the way out, Sweeney's a pretty good guy, and he came to me, and I decided to come here, and you could have a good story out of it. So we'll see what happens, but clearly by the fan reaction to DeBrusk last night, which, yeah, not proud of that myself, yeah, DeBrusk needs to get out of there now. And I do still think the potential is there for him as a goal scorer at the NHL level, but he needs to play top 6 minutes. And I don't think Boston has the patience that's required in order for DeBrusk to reach that next level. Philadelphia, good news for Flyers fans as Kevin Hayes returns again. He only played 2 games before he ended up back on the injured list last time. So we'll see if he's able to stay in the lineup this time around. And it does affect their attack a lot. Like, you look at Philly's record now at 8-8-4, and they would have, I think they would have a better record if Hayes is in the lineup the whole year. He's a dynamic forward for them, and they really rely on that team offense. They don't really have one player who's head and shoulders above everybody else. So it is a team effort, and with Hayes on the shelf, it feels like that's hurt them. So hopefully with Hayes being back, they can get their season back on track. So Seattle, injury news starting to hit them. Eberle, lower body injury, won't play tonight. Schwartz, lower body injury, not playing tonight. Drieger and Yarncroke are on IR. So this is a depleted lineup to get tonight against Detroit. We'll see how they come through it. Eberle, of course, one of their leading scorers, and had a goal in that game the other night before he got hurt. Schwartz has been playing really, really well lately. And so, yeah, it's going to be a test for Seattle as their record has started getting better. Does this hurt their chances? They've already called up Lind. They've also called up DeCord to back up Grubauer. So we'll see how it turns out. But for Seattle, this is not great news. And so we'll see what they do. Maybe they'll be active in the trade market. I think they're a good landing spot for DeBrusk, personally. I think that you're looking at a team that in Seattle, you've got players still learning the system, and it seems to be getting better. DeBrusk definitely has that potential that in Seattle he would get prime ice time, and it could really work very well. Nazem Kadri is an interesting case this year. I'll be really curious to see how he does this coming off season with a new contract. He is having probably the best year of his career. And tonight he's playing in Toronto. So in the 3 years he's been in Colorado, the first year, 2019-2020, placed 51 games, 19 goals, 17 assists. Very good season. Last season, 56 games, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points. Not a great year. This year, 18 games, 7 goals, 20 assists, 27 points. But the interesting thing to me, too, with Kadri is he's 31 years old. So when his next contract is due, the fact he's over 30 might limit the market a little bit if he continues to score at this pace. Do you pay him based on this pace? Or do you say, you know what? We're going to be more reasonable on this. We understand that he scored, and at the end of the year, he could still end up with 80, 85, maybe even 90 points, depending on how it goes from here now that McKinnon's back. But I'll be interested to see what he gets this summer, and especially the term. Because when a player's over 30, you've really got to watch the term. But if you have a bidding war, you might end up with a contract that a year or two later you say, man, what were we thinking? But for Colorado, this is likely Kadri's last year playing for them. Unless he gives them a friendly deal. Unless he says, you know what, I'll sign for X amount of dollars because you guys can afford it. And I really like it in Colorado when I want a chance to win a Stanley Cup. So we'll see. And then if they do win the Stanley Cup this year, does that affect him one way or the other? Does it make him say, you know what, we just won the Cup, I want to challenge somewhere else? Or does he say, yeah, I wouldn't mind winning another one of these? So yeah, Kadri's going to be one to watch, and tonight against his former team in Toronto, we'll see if he gets a goal or an assist, or maybe both. And then maybe throw in a fight and get that Gordie Howe hat trick going. So also today I want to discuss just something Vancouver related, and it's something that honestly, this is a discussion that goes back decades. Decades. The idea that the media has an adversarial relationship with the Canucks is one that I've always found interesting, because media is tough on hockey teams and hockey players in every market. There are very few markets where you could, and usually the markets where that's not the case, sometimes it's just apathy. You may not have a lot of media members that pay that much attention. They might not be a very popular team locally. Normally where you won't see media pressure on the players, these are the same locations where players say, hey, I love playing here. I can walk down the streets and nobody knows who I am. Whereas if you're a Vancouver Canuck, they know who you are. So the media, I have to say, there's a poll right now out there on whether or not the media has an adverse effect on the on-ice results for the Canucks. I'm going to say no. Now, the other question, too, that gets asked is, do players not want to play in Vancouver? There may be some of that. Yes, there may be players who do not want to play for the Canucks. But that's not new. Joe Sakic, back when he was, every now and then his contract was due, even if he had decided to leave Colorado, it was kind of understood he would not have wanted to play in Vancouver. And I don't think it was media. I think it was just he, being the hometown boy, everything. There is a lot of pressure. And it just has always felt like there are certain players that really look forward to that, and there's some that may not. But it's not a new debate. There have been adversarial relationships between management types, Brian Burke, and certain members of the media in times in the past. I know Toronto fans will be really surprised here. Burke wouldn't like somebody in the media? You're kidding. Yeah. And I just find that odd, because we're being told on the one hand, the players aren't paying attention to what's going on in the media. They're not, really caring whatever's being said. And then at the same time, this discussion comes out. And, it's Travis Hamonick's agent that's got this started. But it goes back way beyond anything with Hamonick or anything with his other client, Virtanen, anything way beyond that. And it is interesting because every time the Canucks are near the bottom of the league or they're struggling, this debate comes up again. Every single time. And then when they win, the debate goes away. During their heyday, whether it's the West Coast Express, or whether it's during the 2011 run, 2012, when they're President's Trophy winners, whether it's 92 through 94. When things are going well in Vancouver, this debate goes away. But when the team isn't playing well, there will be, the fans were booing the other night, or there'll be, the media is not very nice. And it's weird because here we have a team that currently sits at 7-14-2. They've won 7 out of 23 games. And people want to blame the media? So it's bizarre to me. It's odd. Are there players who won't play in Vancouver? Absolutely. That's always been a thing. There are players who will not want to play in Toronto. The good news is there will always be players who want to play in Toronto. There will always be players who want to play in Vancouver. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, do we like his contract? Not a lot. But when Ekman-Larsson was asked by Arizona where he'd like to be traded, he said Boston or Vancouver. So, again, there is definitely a preference for Vancouver by some. I feel like Swedish players really like playing in Vancouver. I think that's been shown throughout history. So, yeah, I mean, at the very worst, we keep picking up skilled Swedish players, and hopefully at some point it all kind of comes together. But it is that debate that gets out there, and once the season's gotten this miserable, and like I said on Twitter, it's 1997 all over again. Once it gets this miserable, everything is to blame. Everybody everywhere is to blame. So on some level, maybe it's my fault. Maybe the Canucks record right now is my fault too, and I apologize. I should have predicted they'd make the playoffs, and then maybe their record would be. See, and it's ridiculous, right? And yet we're still having this debate about whether or not the media has this really negative impact on the on ice performance of the Canucks. So yeah, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always, regarding any of the items on this board. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Happy December. Enjoy your Advent calendars. Don't enjoy the entire Advent calendar on the 1st of December. You will regret it. But hey, it's just me saying it. If you want to do that, go ahead. Do that too. Thanks for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.